All right, let's talk about something well, it's not about getting rich, not at all. It's actually way more fundamental than that. It's about how you weather the storms that life, inevitably throws at you. We're going to dive into what might be the single most important tool for navigating all those surprises.
I mean, it's a simple truth, right? Life it rarely asks if you're ready. It pivots, it shifts, it throws these curveballs without any warning whatsoever. It definitely doesn't check your calendar or wait for you to feel prepared.
So, that leads to the real question, the one we all have to ask ourselves. When life does change direction on you, what happens? What happens to you? Are you going to be able to stand firm, or are you going to get swept away by it all?
And the funny thing is, we're not even talking about some huge dramatic catastrophe here. A lot of the time, the trigger is one of these smaller, super common things. A minor accident, an unexpected illness, maybe a project at work gets canceled. These things aren't necessarily life-shattering by themselves. But, and this is the key, without a financial buffer, they are absolutely enough to spark a full-blown crisis.
And that crisis? It has a name we all know: financial panic. It's that sinking feeling, right? That feeling of being completely overwhelmed, totally backed into a corner by money stress. But listen, this is not a sign of weakness. It's not a character flaw. It is the direct result of not having a financial shock absorber in place to soften the blow when life, gets a little bumpy.
Okay, so if it's that important, why do so many of us put it off? Why do we delay building one? Well, it usually boils down to a few really common misunderstandings about what this safety net is actually for. Yeah, this is where our brains can kind of trip us up. We look at cash just sitting there and think, oh, man, that's wasted money. It should be invested. Or we tell ourselves, I'll start saving when I make more money. But that completely misses the point. An emergency fund isn't an investment. Think of it more like financial insurance. Its job isn't to get you rich. Its job is to make sure you don't fall. And it's built from discipline, not from having some huge income.
And that right there, that brings us to its real purpose, its true superpower. See, it's not about buying more stuff. It's about buying something you can't see, something totally intangible, but absolutely priceless.
So here it is, the big idea. The job of an emergency fund is not to earn a return. Its job is to buy you a priceless asset. Time. Time to think clearly when you're under a mountain of pressure. It's the one tool that lets you replace panic with patience.
And that difference is everything. I mean, this quote says it all. It's what distinguishes those who control their lives from those swept away by life. That's it right there. Having that buffer is the line between reacting out of pure fear and responding with a calm, thought-out plan. It's what keeps you in the driver's seat.
Okay, so we get the why. It's powerful stuff. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get practical and turn this whole concept from just a good idea into a concrete action plan that literally anyone can start.
First, let's reframe the goal a little bit. Instead of thinking about some big, scary dollar amount, I want you to ask yourself this question. If your income just stopped tomorrow, how many months of calm do you have in your hands? How many months of clear-headed thinking do you have saved up?
So what's the target? Well, the general rule of thumb is to aim for about 3 to 6 months of your absolute minimum living expenses. Think of 3 months as your starting line. That's a fantastic first goal. 6 months, that's when you really start to feel that sense of security.
And here's how you actually do it step by step. First, you've got to figure out your bare bones monthly costs. What do you absolutely need to live? Number 2, set a small achievable goal. Maybe just 1 month of those expenses. Don't overwhelm yourself. Third, and this is crucial, set that money aside immediately after you get paid. Pay yourself first. Fourth, keep the fund in a totally separate account, not your everyday checking. And finally, number 5, you have to commit, really commit, to not touching it for emotional wants. This is for emergencies only.
And please, remember this, building this fund has so much less to do with the size of your paycheck than you think. It's all about making it a priority and staying disciplined. It is created from priority and discipline. Even tiny, regular contributions will build an incredibly powerful foundation over time. So what's the real-world difference? What does this actually look like when things go wrong? Let's look at the 2 paths you can end up on when a crisis hits: panic versus poise.
Okay, so life without a fund, you're basically operating from a place of desperation. You might be forced into taking a bad job just to pay the bills. You might have to go into panic mode and borrow from friends or, even worse, from high-interest lenders. You're essentially selling your future, your time, your health, way too cheaply. You're just making these short-term decisions that come with some really heavy long-term costs.
But life with a fund? Oh man, the whole picture just flips. All of a sudden, you have time to think. You have breathing room. You can make calm, logical decisions. You get to maintain control over your career and your life choices. You can protect your principles and your integrity because you're not backed into a corner. You actually have the mental space to tell the difference between a real emergency and just a temporary desire.
When you boil it all down, this isn't really just about money, is it? It's about building the foundation of freedom, the essential base for every other single goal you have in your life.
Let's be crystal clear about this. An emergency fund doesn't make you rich. What it does is ensure you don't become poor because of one surprise. It's the bedrock. It's the one thing that stops a single piece of bad luck from wiping out all your hard work. It's the foundation you can safely build everything else on.
And maybe that's the biggest takeaway of all. Financial peace isn't something you just find one day. It's not a matter of luck. It's something that you build, actively, piece by piece, with all those small, disciplined choices you make every single day.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. What is your peace of mind built on? When life inevitably throws that curveball, what's your foundation made of? Is it hope? Is it luck? Or is it built on the solid ground of preparation?